A flock of swans were already freezing in the pond, but a woman with a kind heart did not abandon them. This pair of swans had babies much later than usual. By the end of autumn, 5 chicks had not grown and become strong enough to make the long flight to warm countries, so they and their parents stayed to spend the winter in the pond. The swans tried very hard to warm and protect their babies, but they were powerless before the coming winter, which brought with it cold weather. The family was able to hold out on their own until February, but then the temperature became critically low, and the water in their pond was covered with a thick layer of ice. The birds could no longer get food for themselves and their babies, so they went to a nearby village in search of help. The locals did not abandon the birds in trouble and began to feed them, but they could not find a place for them to spend the winter. People got the press involved, contacted different zoos, but no one wanted to take care of 7 birds at once. While the zoos refused, explaining that they did not have the money to support such a large family, a local resident came to the aid of the birds. Lyudmila has several restaurants located in the area, as well as her own greenhouses, and she offered to house the birds in one of them. The swans began to live in the greenhouse and eat leftovers from the restaurant, as well as frozen fish that the woman brought them. In just a couple of weeks, the birds changed beyond recognition, because they no longer had to wage an exhausting struggle for their lives. In the flock, all the swans, except one, were white. The black swan stood out among them. As it turned out, this bird was the first to appear on the pond. A pair of white swans and their babies appeared later. At first there was a tense relationship between them and the stranger, but over time they accepted him into their family, because he would not have been able to survive the winter on the lake alone. The black swan was marked with a special ring on its paw, so people knew that it had flown in from Riga. Lyudmila took care of the swans, and she understood that they would most likely fly away in the spring, but the woman was not going to create any obstacles for her charges. Next to the swans in the greenhouse there are other animals, domestic chickens and ducks, and even a small pig. All the animals easily found a common language and get along well with each other.